welcome to this edition of Colorado Outspoken. I'm Stephen Montez. On tonight's show, we'll be considering how diverse our community really is. We have gay men and lesbians, of course, but we also embrace a lot of folks who are transgendered in their own way, or based on their own reality of how they perceive themselves. We'll be talking with some people who can enlighten us about the transgender community, including a candidate for the Aurora City Council. We'll be taking a look at our bodies, well, figuratively speaking anyway, by showing you how you can make some changes with a laser, or how you might want to cover up with some cool clothes we saw at a fashion show. We also have a follow-up on last month's focus on harmony, and we also have the news of the local, national, and global GLBT community. Of course, let's take a look at a great new movie. First up, support and information from our folks in the transgender area. Here's Fawn Oates.
Lately, talk of gender has been in the media like never before. Even the idea of transgenderism has been such a taboo subject in years past that it was regulated only to trashy talk shows and movie portrayals of murderous psychopaths. Today we are seeing reputable sources such as Newsweek, Entertainment Tonight, and 2020 normalizing and advocating for transgender people. Throughout these years of transition, Colorado's own Gender Identity Center has been at the forefront. Here to talk more about the Gender Identity Center, we have with us two members of the Board of Directors. Our first guest is Eden Lane, chairwoman for the Colorado Gold Rush, the largest event for the Gender Identity Center, and author of the upcoming book, Charm Bracelet. I'd also like to introduce Alex Brown, who is a group leader for the Female to Male Support Group, the Gender Identity Center, and has been living as a man for the past 2 years. Thank you both for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, let's start out with just what are we really talking about. Alex, could you tell us a little about what gender dysphoria is?
Well, basically, each of us has an internal sense of the gender that we are, and most people never question this because that sense matches up with their bodies. But people who have so-called gender dysphoria experience a disconnect. Their sense of gender does not match up with their anatomy.
Gender dysphoria is the term that's derived from the DSM, which is the diagnostic manual that psychologists use to help various disorders. And gender dysphoria is still listed there as a diagnostic tool because it's not well understood what causes it. However, it's as if you ask your brother or your sister, when did you know you were a boy or a girl? Well, they can't pinpoint that. They always know. The disconnect that Alex referred to only occurs as you start to notice that there are social differences in the way people react to you and expect you to react because of your body, not because of who you are. Early 70s, homosexuality was still listed in the DSM, and that has since been removed in the early 70s, and at some point perhaps gender dysphoria will be moved out of that diagnostic tool as well.
Because right now it seems like we're classifying people with transgenderism as having a mental illness, at least according to the medical and psychological professionals. Do you see that as changing? Alex, what are your thoughts?
I think eventually it will change. I think it will probably stay as a medical diagnosis because certainly the treatment for it is a medical treatment.
My favorite response is from last summer's movie Transamerica, where she said to her doctor, don't you find it funny that a mental illness can be corrected with cosmetic surgery? So I think it will in fact be a medical diagnosis in the future. I just don't know how soon we'll get there.
Sure. It doesn't make a lot of sense right now having that kind of cure for something that we say is a developmental problem.
That's true, but for now it's the only tool we have, so we have to take advantage of it as best we can.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Gender Identity Center specifically. What kind of services do they offer? Alex, I'm going to ask you this question. What kind of services does the Gender Identity Center offer to people who may be struggling with that gender dysphoria?
The Gender Identity Center offers various support groups to people at various points in their transition, from those people who are just starting to ask questions, trying to find more information, to support as people go through this process and helping them with the changes that have to happen with their families, work, living day-to-day life, finding therapists, finding reputable local doctors, all these kinds of this kind of information. And then we also try to do outreach to the community to build associations with other parts of the GLBT community, and then just the community as a whole, just to educate people about what gender identity is about.
Sure. So not only helping the person directly through those support groups, but really helping society understand that person as well.
Exactly.
We're able to accomplish that mostly with our Speakers Bureau and outreach to other community organizations, whether they're part of the LGBT community or not. Just last fall, we helped by speaking to a victims advocate group, which was in one of the Front Range police stations. But also, we provide support to family members of people who are transgender or think they may be transgender. If they have a spouse, a brother, a child who may be diagnosed as being transgender or at least think that they might be, there's also support services that are required for those people in the family as well, because it could be something that's very difficult to accept, and they don't know how to support their loved ones. So we provide that sort of support for them as well.
And that was actually going to be my next question. I've seen this trend of not only gay and lesbians coming out earlier and earlier, but certainly transgender people coming out earlier and earlier. In 2020, they showed children as young as 6, 7, 8 years old saying, "I'm the other gender."
The biggest difference there is not so much them coming out and saying that they're transgender, because obviously at 3 and 5 and 6 and whatever age, they're not using those words. What's different now is the way people are perceiving that and their awareness so that they can react to it. When people were children in our generation, if they said that they felt that they were the opposite gender, they either thought it was a phase or that they might be gay, and it was often considered either something to ignore or a great crisis. What you see now in the examples that Barbara Walters showed on 2020, that wonderful organization is a group of parents that are finding the tools they need to support their children who may ultimately turn out to be transgender or may not. But they're reacting differently to what they're hearing their children say. The children have always said these sorts of things. Anecdotally, when you read biographies of transgendered adults, they will often have said that they knew this very early on.
Sure.
So it's not so much that it's starting to reveal itself earlier, it's that we're aware enough to pay attention earlier.
And at least the parents are saying, "I'm open enough to talk to somebody about
Some parents.
this." Right.
Some parents.
Yeah. And there are also resources such as therapists. I mean, we saw therapists on the 2020 that Barbara Walters did, doctors who have experience treating children who have gender identity disorder.
Right here in Colorado, there are physicians that have experience and openness to helping families who have children who identify themselves as transgender early on, and we can provide those sorts of resources at the Gender Identity Center.
Excellent. And you said something about giving the parents those tools to help deal with their child, or help deal with society, really, dealing with that child.
Yes, those are different sets of
Yes.
tools.
So what kind of tools could I expect to develop? Let's say I have a 6-year-old who may be saying that they feel they're the other gender. Alex, what do you see as something that I could gain from the Gender Identity Center?
Well, I think first there are probably connections to other people who have been through that, and I think that can be really important. I know, not dealing with children, but when I started to transition, that for my partner at the time, my and still current partner, reaching out, having other people who had gone through exactly the same thing was very important.
Sure.
And so that certainly those kinds of connections, or referrals to, again, reputable therapists, medical doctors.
And as a mother myself, I know how disturbing it can be when you're afraid for your child, not just based on what you might perceive the medical condition to be, but what kind of world will they face where it's something so different. If you have a gay or lesbian child or a transgender child, those concerns are the same, because the hate that causes the world to be difficult for gay and lesbian children is the same hate that causes it to be difficult for transgender children. So what it can be is, even if it's later in life as teenagers, we can help you locate resources, not just for therapy and doctors and for your children and for yourself, but also peer groups for those teenagers, so that they don't feel isolated, so that they can feel as if there is hope for a positive future, instead of falling into the kind of environment where some young trans women, for example, end up taking a route that leaves them away from education, so that they are not employable, and they can often fall prey to medical quackery, such as silicone pumping parties and that sort of thing. And so we're able to help them help their teenagers avoid those pitfalls.
Excellent. It sounds like there's a lot of good things going on there. I was looking at your website, and I noticed that you had been established in 1978, and I was amazed. I was very
neither of us actually.
Right. Gender Identity Center as a whole. Thank you for reminding me. What kind of changes has the center seen in the last 30 years in terms of how we see transgender people and how the public sees transgender people? Alex, why don't you speak about that?
Well, I think we've touched on one of those already, is that we're seeing people come out at younger and younger ages, which is great because, then they'll have the experience of living, in their gender for longer periods of time without this conflict. So that's great. Another one is, just wider, more talk about gender. I can't imagine, if I had talked about this when I was 8 years old or whatever, I'm thankful that no one took me to a psychiatrist, because who knows what they would have done. So just more public acceptance. Let's see, what else? There was something else. I think.
Well, I would say that within the larger LGBT community, there's a vast difference between now and 1978. In 1978, the whole LGBT movement was at its infancy, basically, even though it had begun in the summer of '69. Transgender people, even though the word didn't exist then, were at the forefront of that movement. And by 1978, the political movement wanted to be more assimilated and more mainstream. So people who didn't quite fit that mold were pushed to the side. And since then, that has changed a great deal. The Human Rights Campaign Fund, which is now known as the Human Rights Campaign, even has completely done a turnaround and embraced transgendered people and their families, so much so that they've actually partnered with the National Center for Transgender Equality, and part of lobby days, including legislation to protect employment discrimination and for just general ID. And that's a huge shift within the LGBT movement. It used to be that the T was either a silent or even a lowercase T at best. And what we're seeing today in this decade is that that's changing, and that's exciting because really the LGBT movement began with that partnership, and it's nice to see them return to that.
Excellent. And hopefully some of the gay organizations are starting to reevaluate, making that T more important.
Right here in Colorado, the center is doing that. There is a meeting scheduled once a month there, and the center is making itself available to transgender citizens that are adult, and at Rainbow Alley, which is one of their most dear programs.
And even at Colorado OutSpoken, we've looked at our own programming and thought maybe that we hadn't inserted the T as much as we could be. So hopefully we're making better on that.
It's a meaningful partnership. Thank you.
I agree. So Alex, I'll go back to you. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's just struggling with their gender identity?
I would say to find a way to reach out and make connections with other people in whatever way is most comfortable for that person.
Sure.
For some people, that'll be coming to a meeting at the GIC and meeting other people. For some people, it may be looking for resources on the internet, and certainly I think that has just revolutionized the coming out process for transgendered people.
Because for gay, lesbian, queer, and of any kind. Sure.
Because you can go. There are many very good, reputable, solid online groups through Yahoo and other websites where you can go. If you don't feel comfortable asking a question, you can at least for a while read other people's experiences and other people's questions, and then once you feel the confidence, you can ask your own and things like that. And that can help people kind of answer some of their initial questions in a more private atmosphere until then they feel ready to make other connections.
Sure. Eden, would you say that as Alex was talking about, kind of finding the community is this first step to really finding self-acceptance?
It can be, but for me, I think the best advice I would give someone actually begins just one step before then. Whether I was talking to someone who says they think they're transgendered or gay or lesbian or any other thing that's different, is to take a deep breath and realize that it can be okay. Yeah. The kind of models that you spoke about earlier, the Jerry Springer paradigm of what transgender or even gay and lesbian people are like has been dispelled. That paradigm is destroyed, and the world is ready to accept you if you're ready to take your place at the table. And that can be anything that works for you, whatever is comfortable for you. So just take a deep breath and know that it doesn't have to be a tragedy. It can be just something that you learn to accept and work within and move on and still have a happy life, whatever that is going to be for you. And then you find yourself open to being able to find these resources and make these connections, because that connection won't really work if it doesn't begin within first, that self-acceptance first.
And I think you make a really good point that we just need to relax and take a step back at some points, because well, at least I can, kind of whip myself into a frenzy about certain things, and you think
that can
this is the end of my life.
Absolutely.
This is it. Why am I? And a lot of people that I've talked to about their stories will say, it came to the end of my life. You know, I had some kind of awakening that this was really going to be the end of my life, and this is the way I've been dealing with it.
I'll know our work is nearing a different phase when we no longer hear people say that transition came to them as a result of choosing death or transition.
Right.
When transition comes to them as a choice of embracing their whole spirit, and so that we never have to get to that point the same way that lesbian and gay citizens are able to now. Very rarely do we hear people feeling that being gay or lesbian is a death sentence, and hopefully we'll get there for transgendered people as well and their families.
Alex, do you see that as coming soon, or do you see that as being kind of off in the horizon?
I think it's coming more and more. I certainly, although I did have my own struggles with depression, I don't think they were partially due to my being transgendered and partially due to other factors. But, you know, I think I was closer to that model of I see who I am now, and I know there are steps that I can take before I get to that crisis point.
Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about what's coming up in the GIC, Alex.
We will have representatives both at the People's Fair and at the Pride Festival, both of those. So if people want to come and meet us in person, ask questions, get some contact information, we'd be happy to talk to them there.
Excellent.
He's a very friendly fellow. Also, the Gender Identity Center, as you mentioned at the beginning, sponsors a national level conference every year called the Colorado Gold Rush. And that's in February, right after Valentine's Day. And it might seem a bit early, but actually it takes that whole year to plan such a large conference, and we're coming up on our 10th anniversary. And if someone was interested, they could come to our meetings and find out what sort of plans we have in the works, and maybe even contribute some great ideas. This past year, we were honored to have Dylan Kosla, a well-known, highly regarded author, as our keynote speaker for Friday. He was amazing, not just from a transgender point of view, but as an inspirational figure all on his own. And those are the kinds of things we're hoping to expand on for the 10th anniversary. So I would encourage anybody who has those kinds of skills to come on down and give us a hand.
Excellent. Well, would you like to give your website?
Yes, you can find, for the Gender Identity Center, is at www.gicofcolo.org, and you can either follow the link from there to Colorado Gold Rush, or you can go to www.cologoldrush.org.
Well, I know that we'll be hearing more from the Gender Identity Center in the future, and we look forward to it. I want to thank my guests, Eden Lane and Alex Brown, for being here and sharing their triumphs with us. I'm Fawn Oates for Colorado Outspoken.
Do you have so much body hair that people call you King Kong? Got scars from too many zips when you were a kid? Well, technology has an answer. Nicole Garcia took a trip to our newest sponsor, Hollywood Body Laser, to find out what laser treatment can do for all sorts of problems you might have with your skin. Take it away, Nicole.
Each person's appearance in the world is important. The first impression can't be changed, so we all strive to make the impression as perfect as possible. We all suffer from vanity, some more than others, but it can't be denied. We have all tweezed, moisturized, and done countless other things in an effort to change the effects of nature and time. Believe me, you're not alone, and there's help for all of us. Technology is helping to address nature and time, from the removal of unwanted hair, the smoothing of acne-scarred skin, or the wrinkles earned with the passage of time. I'm here today at the Hollywood Body Laser Center with Jeannie King. I'm happy to welcome Hollywood Body Laser Center as a new sponsor of Colorado Outspoken, but more importantly, we want to know what she can offer all of us. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, Nicole.
So, the one thing I've always wondered, and people have asked me countless times because I've had laser, what is laser?
Well, this laser in particular is by Elos, and we call it the Galaxy. It does several things, and the biggest one is the hair removal. And the hair removal is for all skin types and all colors of hair. So it doesn't matter if it's dark or not, it will get it. The lighter hairs do take more treatments, but we do offer a guarantee with all of our hair removal.
So that's something different, because when I first started doing laser a few years ago,
Yes.
Because of my darker skin, they said it wouldn't be as effective. So that has changed?
It sure has. Technology's come a long ways. The key thing to the laser nowadays is you have to have the laser that has the radio frequency. That's the thing that makes all the difference. The other thing about this laser with hair removal, it's minimal discomfort. We're not doing that rubber band snap anymore.
Really?
So, yeah, it's quite awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, technology is amazing.
Okay, so if I want to come in for a treatment, our model here has graciously allowed us to use her beautiful face. What did she have to do to prepare for laser treatment on her face?
Well, actually, we're doing her underarms.
Oh,
that's okay. And what she does is she comes in with no deodorant and freshly shaved skin. We have a gel that goes on, and then we use the laser. We test patch and get her up to what she can tolerate, and we do her treatment. She comes back approximately 7 to 10 weeks later and gets her second treatment, and so on and so on.
So do you have to let the hair grow first?
Actually,
no.
We have you come in with freshly shaved skin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's something different.
And
also.
no deodorant, no oils, no lotions.
Okay, so what does it look like when you do a treatment?
Well, actually, it doesn't really look like anything because this is the laser head, and it covers quite an area. It expands out while you're treating, and we overlap each segment. The thing about it is we have cold air that blows into the area while we're treating it. You're maybe red from the cold air for, I'd say, 3 minutes, and after that, you can't tell you've been lasered.
Really?
It's fabulous.
That is wonderful. Have you had the treatments before?
Yes, I have many times.
So it's not been painful?
No, not at all.
Wonderful. So you mentioned other things that it could help?
Yeah, it treats, we do photofacials for, it treats your hyperpigmentation, hypopigmentation, which is the browns and the reds going on in the skin. It helps with fine lines and wrinkles, improves the skin tone and texture. It is an amazing skin rejuvenation.
So to do her armpits, how much would that ballpark cost?
For hair removal?
Yeah.
You know, I don't really like to advertise that only because everyone's different. And I try to do a one-on-one type consultation at no charge. And I try to find out what your finances are like and try to set you up something just for you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So you work with people.
Right. We do in-house financing. We also do 0% financing with a company. So, or you just paying as you go.
Well, that's great. So I understand you also offer other services here.
We do.
What are they?
Well, we do skin tightening, which is really good for the people that have the big folds going in the nasal lobia.
The teeth?
Yeah, the real fine wrinkles that start to appear under the eyes or between the brows. It really helps with the turkey necks and the crepiness through the chest. Then we also offer acne treatments, which is also laser, and it's crucial with the blue light that's in this laser. It is amazing what it does for live cystic acne and the disfiguration that can come with acne. So, and then of course we do microdermabrasions, chemical peels, Botox, Restylane.
So let's talk about microdermabrasion. How does that happen, or do you have somebody who could show us?
We do have someone that can show you. Actually, Mallory's in the next room performing procedures now.
Hi, my name's Mallory, and I'm going to be your esthetician today. I will be doing your microdermabrasion. Just to let you know, it is a medical grade machine, and we are underneath the medical director.
Super. Mallory, what kind of expectations should I have with this treatment?
Well, basically, it's a deep exfoliant. It basically evens out skin tone and texture, and it promotes healthy skin, and it also accelerates cell production.
Fantastic. Who can benefit from this type of treatment?
I would say most everybody with aging skin, problem skin, and even healthy skin.
And when I come here for my appointment, what do I need to do to prepare for this appointment?
Basically come in with, naked skin, no lotions, oils, or anything on your skin, and afterwards you can go about your daily routines as normal.
You mean I can go right back to work without any redness or anything?
Of course.
Super, fantastic.
I'd like to thank Mallory King for her participation in microdermabrasion and her model Rachel. Also like to thank Jeannie King for inviting us here to Hollywood Body Laser Center. She's located at 6726 Revere Parkway, number 180 in Centennial, Colorado. They have a fantastic website, www.hollywoodbodylaser.com. Feel free to take a look. For Colorado Outspoken, I'm Nicole Garcia.
Every 15 seconds, a child dies from lack of clean water. Aveda Salons and Access World Talent asked me to be in a fashion show to help raise money for children. Check it out.
Basically, we were going to raise a lot of money for Western Resource Advocates, and we just wanted to make eco-fashion fierce. So we got the best models in town, and we had the idea of having our very in-your-face logo of every 15 seconds a child dies from lack of access to unclean water, and wanted to connect our show with that idea. So basically we got eco-fashions, some very fierce makeup, all by Aveda, and really got just a great creative team together to pull it all off and have just a great, successful show.
Well, a friend of mine, Isabel, who's actually helping run the show, called and asked me to perform for this wonderful cause. And Aveda, I don't know if anybody knows, but Aveda's throwing a Clean Water Act this evening. So we're doing a campaign to kind of make sure that everybody in the world has clean water, because it is a human right.
I'm wearing, all of it is eco-friendly. So this jacket actually, it's bamboo. You would never think they could make wood into material, but they can. And everything's like either recycled or out of natural fibers and materials like wood and stuff. It's really cool.
Access World Talent got chosen to be part of the Aveda show because the Aveda reps actually did our Spring Fever fashion show at DC 10. So they did all the makeup for us, and then we got to do all the models for their show. The models did amazing. Oh my gosh, so amazing, especially in the small prep time. And all of them were just fabulous. Couldn't have asked for more.
I love all of the models, especially Steven and Asia.
Hate crimes legislation in America, gay neighbors in Europe and Australia, and equal marriage in France. It's all in the news you need to know about. Here's Rick Miller.
Socially conservative groups appear resigned to the likelihood that the Matthew Shepard Hate Crimes Act will be passed by Congress and are calling for President Bush to veto the bill. The House is expected to vote this week. The legislation would add crimes based on sexuality to the federal hate crimes law, also called the Local Law Enforcement Hate Crimes Prevention Act. It would allow the Department of Justice to assist local authorities in investigating and prosecuting cases in which violence occurs. FBI statistics show that 1 in 6 hate crimes is motivated by the victim's sexual orientation. The American Family Association has sent an alert to thousands of its members calling on them to email and phone the White House to call for a veto of the Hate Crimes Act. The AFA alert states the Hate Crimes Act criminalizes a vast array of state and local acts and threatens religious leaders with criminal prosecution for their thoughts, beliefs, and statements. Supporters of the bill and LGBT civil rights groups strongly dispute that claim. Concerned Women for America also is calling for a veto. In a letter to the president, the group says there is no evidence to suggest that homosexuals or cross-dressers do not receive equal protection under the law. Justice should be blind. Former Senator Alan Simpson of Wyoming addressed the National Convention of the Log Cabin Republicans who met in Denver recently. Simpson told attendees, "Don't give up on the Republican Party, not yet anyway. Don't stereotype the party on a few cuckoos who never give up on their bitterness, hostility, and venom." Convention goers indicated that they were leaning towards supporting former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani in the Republican primary, although some worried that he would revise his pro-gay stances to appease cultural conservatives. A North Carolina-based gay and lesbian activist group has announced the launch of a nationwide grassroots campaign aimed at counteracting religious conservatism during the 2008 election season. The Call to Courage campaign has already garnered support from several local churches who expect to challenge some of their congregations' deeply held religious beliefs. Petty Officer Second Class Jason Knight is out of the U.S. Navy again for being gay. In 2005, the trained Hebrew linguist was released from the service under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, only to be called back last year. His firing a few weeks before he was to complete his latest round of service allegedly stems from interviews he gave to Stars and Stripes and other media. The Vermont State House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly recently to include gender identity in the state's anti-discrimination laws. The legislation passed 118 to 28 with support from both parties. Once law, the move will make Vermont the 11th state to include protections against discrimination for transgender citizens. A Canadian study has found that same-sex parents are just as good, if not better, than opposite-sex parents. The study, released by the Canadian Justice Department, was commissioned in 2003 by its then Liberal government. Authored by Professor Paul Hastings at Concordia University, the study asserts that children raised by lesbian parents are equally as socially competent as children raised by heterosexual parents. The 74-page report says, a few studies suggest that children with two lesbian mothers may have marginally better social competence than children in traditional nuclear families. Even fewer studies show the opposite, and most studies fail to find any differences. Hastings, who only recently gained permission to release the study, suggested that publication was restricted by the conservative government that regained power in 2006, led by Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Airport officials in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, have fired a luggage attendant who admitted playing a Bible verse that offended a gay couple over an airport speaker system. Jethro Monestein acknowledged to investigators that he twice used his cell phone to play a recording that said, quote, "If a man lies with a man as one lies with a woman, they should be put to death." The recording is a variation of Leviticus 20:13. A co-owner of Superior Aircraft Services says Monestein was fired and the company has issued an apology to the offended couple. Univision Radio, part of the Spanish-speaking division of NBC Universal, suspended a host after he uttered anti-gay slurs on the air May 1st. Luis Jimenez has been barred from the airwaves for 1 month after he and his co-host performed a song titled Las Patas, which translates to the dykes in English. The song included several gay slurs and ridiculed lesbians. Later in the broadcast, a stereotypical gay character was introduced, whom Jimenez ridiculed and said, "Cállate pato," which translates as "shut up faggot." Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation President Neil Giuliano noted that the actions taken against Jimenez were timely and appreciated. Giuliano said, "We call on all Spanish-language broadcasters to require the same accountability from all their on-air talent." An international study of attitudes towards gays shows large numbers of people still do not want gay neighbors. The study, titled Love Thy Neighbor, How Much Bigotry Is There in Western Countries, was co-authored by Professor Vani Barua of the University of Ulster and John Mangan, a professor of economics at the University of Queensland in Australia. The research focused primarily on Europe and Australia. In the Republic of Ireland, 27% said they did not want a gay neighbor. In Austria and Greece, it was 26%. Nearly 25% of Australians do not want gays living next door. Overall, the most welcoming country was Sweden, where only 6% said they would object to having gay neighbors. Scientists in Texas and the United Kingdom have found that a chemical from green tea reduces HIV's ability to infect cells. The scientists from the University of Sheffield and Baylor College of Medicine in Houston found that as little as 2 cups of green tea could provide enough of the essential chemical to inhibit HIV cell binding by 40%. However, they do not recommend that people start drinking gallons of green tea as an HIV preventative. Rather, they are conducting research to find out if the chemical, or one like it, would make a good HIV drug. Human rights advocate Peter Tatchell says outcoming British Prime Minister Tony Blair has a mixed record on LGBT issues. While praising the removal of anti-gay legislation from British law under Blair's tenure, Tatchell also pointed to the lack of progress on marriage, asylum, and other issues. While polling indicates that the French population favors marriage rights for gays and lesbians by 60%, the election of conservative presidential candidate Nicolas Sarkozy likely means that there will be no action on that front in the near future. Rival candidate, socialist Ségolène Royal, had promised to introduce marriage rights legislation if elected. The Denver Gay Men's Chorus will be celebrating their 25th anniversary with the upcoming Building a Legacy concert. The concert will take place Saturday, June 2nd in Gates Hall at the Newman Center for the Performing Arts on the University of Denver campus. The performance, in what is considered one of Denver's best concert halls, will showcase the 100-member chorus accompanied by a 40-piece orchestra. In honor of the chorus anniversary, Denver Mayor John Hickenlooper has declared June 2nd as Denver Gay Men's Chorus Day. Tickets for this exciting event are available by phone at 303-357-ARTS, in person at the Newman Center, or Wildflowers at 12th and Madison, or at any Ticketmaster location. Finally tonight, we want to remind you that the June edition of Metromode magazine will be hitting the shelves soon. Metromode is the premier publication for the GLBT community, covering news, fashion, features, and entertainment. You'll want to be on the lookout for the next issue at more than 200 places along the Front Range. Until next time, this is Rick Miller for Colorado Outspoken.
Pam Bennett is running for a seat on the Aurora City Council. Pam has a lot to offer Aurora citizens, including experience gained from her career in the military and in the aerospace, electronics, and oil and gas industries. She can offer a unique perspective as well. Here's Nicole Garcia with more.
Since the Stonewall riots of 1969, the LGBT community has fought for and made tremendous strides towards recognition and acceptance. During the same time, the T community remained in the shadows. Those who dared to transition opted to disappear into the world around them. In recent years, however, more transgender individuals transition and announce to the world, "I am here." Movies, major news networks, and magazines have begun to dramatize and publicize the trials, tribulations, and lives of the transgender community. I am here to proclaim we are out of the closet and not going back. Case in point, in 1950, Pam Bennett took Michigan Governor Williams' boutonniere, her first touch in the world of politics. Pam's wide variety of careers, from the Air Force to the oil and gas industry to defense aerospace, gave her leadership experience. Pam has kicked off her campaign for a seat on the Aurora City Council. Jim Cullum is Pam's campaign manager. Jim has run 2 Colorado House campaigns and acted as an advisor on a previous city council race in Centennial. Welcome, Pam. Welcome, Jim.
Hello.
Well, Pam, why politics? Why this arena?
Politics is something that's interested me all my life. I've followed it, love to vote. This is something everybody should do. And I love to help people. And now, with my previous volunteer activities around politics and helping legislators and at the Capitol, I saw something that I really wanted to do, become a public servant.
Well, I've known you for a while, and I know you haunted the halls of the state capitol for a long time. How's that experience going to help you?
Oh, fantastic experience. It's working with the legislators, the state representatives and state senators, the governors, because I've been there for several years and been through an administrative change. But all of this has given me an appreciation for the legislative process. How to make laws, how what you do in politics affects lives around the state. So it's very, very interesting. It's very, very critical to how our state runs. And from that experience, I learned, that's just the technical part. The other part that's so incredibly important, I learned the dedication needed. I learned how a human has to run or how a human has to do the work necessary. You just don't walk in and voila, here's a bill. You have a lot of work in the background, a lot of history to learn, a lot of what does your bill affect? How does it affect others? So the halls were very, very much fun.
Okay, walking the halls is one thing. Learning how a bill is made is one thing. But pursuing a public office?
It goes to the very essence of me. Because I want to be out in public and helping people. And there's some behind the scenes, but for me, it's, I want to be out there. I have the background now. I have what it takes to be out in front. I call it kicking the doors, because somebody like me with the necessary strength can do this. I have the leadership. I've been a leader in many, many fields. So kicking the doors now and bringing along others behind me as we go forward in politics is just great.
Well, Jim, you've decided to work with Pam. What drew you to this campaign?
Oh, I met Pam for the first time 3 years ago. Some folks during the 04 campaign cycle who were getting very involved in their community brought some people into the neighbor's house, and we were trying to educate and sort of spread the word about how to get involved in politics. Pam came in to speak to us about a particular issue and a particular candidate, and just floored us. Really, really wowed the room. When Pam starts to speak from her heart about people and from her mind about politics, you're drawn in. So we became somewhat friendly and worked in and out of political circles. When she told me a year and a half ago that she was seeking office, I thought it was an incredibly brave thing to do, and that she is 100% the right person to represent the people of Aurora.
Well, I know Pam doesn't hide her transgender status. Does that help or hinder her campaign?
It simply is who Pam Bennett is. Honestly, we have some sort of curve to get over with the voters. I think initially, it could be a hindrance to some people to really get to know Pam and her platform. What we found is that there's a 5-minute rule. if a voter or any person really can spend 5 minutes with Pam, they're drawn in immediately. And I guess I take that from the point of view of somebody who really sort of would go, well, transgendered, I have no point of reference, but she's a charming lady. She's very, very intelligent, and so that's how we go with that. Yeah, there is something to come over, but Pam's our ace.
Well, as far as national news attention, I looked on the MSNBC.com website, found something under the Newsweek about my life as a transgender politician. It was a fairly lengthy article. Does that help or hinder? Jim?
Pam's been clear since the very beginning. The fact that she is transgendered is going to be public knowledge. The voters need to know everything they can about any candidate who steps forward into the public arena. So when Newsweek came and asked if they could do an interview, I think the answer was immediately yes from the entire campaign staff. No, that serves us well. We're going to be honest with the voters. I think that's incredibly important. So this is a good article for the campaign.
Now, as I said in the beginning, previously, a lot of transgender people transitioned and disappeared into the woodwork. Obviously, I haven't, but why did you choose not to?
It was a conscious decision. I did not have what I thought it would take to go stealth, which is, blending into the background and not making anything obvious. And as I looked at it and I looked at what was going on the last several years, I saw more and more acceptance of public to transgender people. I also saw the various television shows, movies, showing the real life of transgender people, and it was changing. So I also was in politics, not much to hide in politics. If I'd be out talking to large groups on stage, telling how to be a citizen lobbyist, at that point, that's when I really said, well, if I'd ever do something, it's already out there, and I'm not going to go stealth. I am enjoying life, and there's also the other part. I lived I was an actor for 52 years. I couldn't do it anymore. So this is the real me.
So if people vote for you and you are elected as a city council representative, what will you do for the city of Aurora?
Oh, number one, we refocus our development patterns from the prairie to old Aurora, original Aurora, bringing in more quality jobs, containing our water rates. It's a lot of local issues, but with Aurora, one of the largest cities in this country, it's important that we start becoming the major U.S. city we are. We have the potential to be a world-class city, and I want to bring it on.
So if people want to find out about your campaign and how to contribute, can they go on the web?
They can. My website is pambennettforaurora.com.
Straight and simple to the point. To exist in the world of politics, one must have incredible strength and courage. The race, creed, sexual orientation, or gender of any candidate should be secondary to the ideas and work ethic put forth by the individual. I would like to thank my guests, Pam Bennett and Jim Cullum, for joining me tonight. I'm Nicole Garcia for Colorado Outspoken.
Harmony and Colorado Chorale is a chorus community using the power of music to educate and empower its members and the community at large. Recently, Harmony performed a concert of songs around speakers from the transgender community. Here's Nicole Garcia to tell you more.
Just like I promised you on April 29th, I'm here with Bill Loper on May 12th for the concert for Harmony, a Colorado Chorale. Nice to see you, Bill.
Thank you, Nicole. It's great to be here, and we're excited about tonight's concert. We have, as you all talked about in the April newscast, this show is about gender issues. We have several people who will be talking about their experiences as transgendered people or as family members. And this is a topic that we decided to broach because we feel that as far as our community at large, it's important to embrace transgendered people as part of the GLBTS community. And we're at a point in our lives, I think as far as society goes, that it's important that everybody is inclusive. This goes along with Harmony's mission statement. We are an all-inclusive, non-audition chorus, and everybody is welcome. We want to make sure that that's known.
I'm really looking forward to listening to your concert tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Hey!
I know you want to stay connected with what's going on in our community. How? By watching the bulletin board, of course, and it's coming up right now. Humor, intrigue, exploding cars, good actors, and a cute boy. What more would you want in a movie? Here's a peek at one that gives you all that. It's called Faye Grimm.
Mom?
Yeah.
I've been expelled.
Faye, have you ever thought of moving to a different town?
Agent Fulbright, CIA. We'd like to ask you some questions about your husband.
Henry hasn't been in contact with you, has he?
I hope I never see him again.
You understand that Henry kept a diary, many volumes.
Yeah, so?
Was it treasonous?
I just read the dirty part.
Say Henry's dead.
And you believe them?
They're the CIA, Simon. The government of the United States of America. God, get with it.
Someone knows we have that book, and they will kill to get it.
You don't fly much, do you? I do often. You'll be over in no time.
We think Faye's been roped into some kind of international espionage.
They were going to kill my son.
Faye, trust me. We never want to go that far.
I'm a soldier of God.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
Where is she? Where are the books? You know where Faye is, don't you? Grimm, Faye, U.S. passport, or Hopper, Emily Singh.
I'm looking for my husband. Where is he? What would terrorists want with Henry's notebooks?
What would anybody want with Henry's notebooks? Faye's gone over to the other side.
The other side of what?
Why'd we have to overthrow the government?
It was inappropriate to the needs of the American economy.
Hey,
I underestimated you.
Imagine that.
Faye Grimm is playing now at the Esquire. If you'd like a pair of free tickets, just give us a call on the movie line at 303-861-0829. We'll give a pair of tickets to 10 randomly selected callers. Well, that's all we have for tonight's show. We want to thank all of you for joining us. We'll be back on Sunday, June 24th at 10 p.m. right here on KBDI Channel 12. So we hope to see you then. And of course, you can always check us out online at our brand new cool website, coloradooutspoken.org. I'm Stephen Montez. Good night.